After studying this module, you shall be able to have a broad understanding of somatoform and dissociative disorders and their syndromes, to understand the epidemiology of both the disorders, and to know the possible causal explanation of the disorders, and to be familiar with the current treatment options and ongoing research for the same for somatoform and dissociative disorder. Definition of somatoform disorder. Somatoform disorders are characterized by the presence of physical or bodily symptoms without any general medical cause to explain it. The term somatoform has been derived from the Greek word soma, which means body, and therefore is defined by the experiences of bodily signs and symptoms such as complaints of having physical discomfort, such as body pains, breathing problems, or even paralysis of certain body parts. Now you must understand the dissociative disorders. So as the name suggests, refers to dissociation or splitting apart of one's identity. It can be explained as a feeling of strangeness or disconnectedness from reality. As is the case with the somatoform disorders, the cause of dissociative disorders is deep-rooted in highly stressful and traumatic life experiences. It is in response to coping with such events that dissociative disorders may develop. Now we'll quickly go through the clinical picture of both the disorders and we'll try to find out various syndromes under each of these categories. Syndromes of somatoform disorders. Somatization disorder. Somatization disorder was first described by Paul Briquet in 1859. It is therefore also known as Briquet syndrome. It is a somatoform disorder characterized by multiple chronic and concurrent complaints of bodily symptoms. Individuals with somatization disorder describe their symptoms in vague, dramatic, and exaggerated fashion. They complain of problems in multiple organ systems, usually including symptoms such as pain, gastrointestinal distress, and breathing difficulties. According to DSM-4-TR, the diagnostic criteria for somatization disorder requires that there should be a history of many physical complaints beginning before the age of 30 years and occurring over a period of several years. The experience of the symptoms must cause the patient to seek treatment or cause significant impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. The symptoms must include the pain syndrome in at least 4 different areas of body, which may include head, abdomen, back, joints, chest, extremities, rectum, during menstruation, joints, menstruation, pain during intercourse, or during urination. The 2 gastrointestinal symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, bloating, constipation or diarrhea, or intolerance to several kinds of foods. 1 sexual symptom such as sexual indifference, erectile dysfunction, irregular periods, etc. And 1 pseudo-neurological symptom which may include blindness, double vision, hallucination, amnesia, impaired balance, deafness, etc. The most common symptoms reported are nausea and vomiting, difficulty swallowing, pain in arms and legs, shortness of breath, unrelated to exertion, amnesia, and complications of pregnancy and menstruation. Next under the same category is conversion disorder. In conversion disorder, patients experience the actual loss or impairment of a motor or sensory function without any apparent neuropathological cause. The most common symptom of conversion disorder experienced by a patient are blindness, deafness, paralysis, anesthesia, Also common are conversion symptoms that mimic physical illness such as epilepsy or cancer. These symptoms, though having no physical cause, actually happen without the patient having any control over them. The most common symptoms of this disorder are paralysis, blindness, and mutism. Historically, conversion disorder was combined with the present-day somatization disorder and collectively referred to as hysteria, from the Greek word hystera, meaning uterus. It was incorrectly thought to affect only women, and its cause was attributed to a wandering uterus. Conversion disorder, therefore, it was medically termed, was caused due to the psychological conflict, usually sexual in nature. Even though today the sexual interpretation is rejected, psychologists do agree that conversion disorder may be the result of some psychological conflict. What particularly sets conversion disorder patients apart from those of neuropathology is that 1/3 of the conversion disorder patients display a la belle indifference or beautiful indifference. That is, they seem completely unperturbed by their symptoms. The DSM-4-TR diagnosis of conversion disorder requires that the symptoms affect the voluntary motor or sensory function. That is, neurological symptoms and seizure symptoms such as pseudoseizures may also be observed. It also requires that clinicians find a necessary and critical association between the cause of the neurological symptoms and psychological factors. Next syndrome under somatoform disorders is hypochondriasis. Hypochondriasis is characterized by a constant fear or excessive worry about having a serious illness. Hypochondriacs misinterpret their physical bodily sensations as abnormal. They pick up a small bodily dysfunction as abdominal pain and exaggerate the symptom as indicating a more serious disability or disease, such as cancer. Even though they cannot find any medical diagnosis that confirms their beliefs, and even after being reassured of their good health by medical examination, they continue to hold strong conviction of their perceived illness. Their irrational fears of being ill or feeling susceptible to contracting a particular disease drives such individual to be avid reader of the medical articles in magazines and on the web, visit multiple doctors, try miracle cures, design strenuous health regimes, and have wide collection of pills. Next syndrome under the same category is body dysmorphic disorder. Body dysmorphic disorder is also known as dysmorphophobia, originally conceptualized by Morselli in 1886, refers to a subjective feeling of ugliness or physical defects in a person of normal appearance. It also includes individuals with a minimum physical effect who react out of proportion to this defect. As the name suggests, individuals with this disorder overestimate their perceived physical flaws to the point that they can no longer function normally. They have a distorted perception of their physical appearance. Individuals with body dysmorphic disorder typically focus their attention on the face, ears, nose, hair, breast, genitalia. Frequent complaints also include skin blemishes, facial wrinkles. Men tend to focus on genitals, height, excessive body hair, body build, and hair thinning. And women tend to focus on breasts, legs, hips, and weight. According to DSM-4-TR, the diagnostic criteria states that patients have a preoccupation with an imagined defect in appearance or overemphasis of a slight defect which causes significant emotional distress and impairment of normal regular functioning. In some cases, people with body dysmorphic disorder choose to undergo plastic surgery, which usually makes their appearance concerns worse. Others may avoid being seen, quit their jobs, or become homebound. In extreme cases, the person may also contemplate or even attempt suicide. Next syndrome is pain disorder. Pain disorder is a somatoform disorder wherein the patient suffers or focuses on chronic pain in one area or more without any medical condition or physical cause to explain it. Psychological factors are assumed to play a role in causing and or maintaining the bodily pain. The patient tends to report the pain in emotional terms rather than sensory terms, and they are ambiguous about localizing the pain or specifying its variation in terms of when it occurs or when it is most intense. Such individuals also share the fear of pain, which leads them to avoid social and physical activities, which further maintain or exacerbate their experience of pain and related behaviors. According to DSM-4TR, the diagnostic criteria for pain disorder require the presence of clinically significant complaints of pain which have no direct physical or organic cause. The experience of the pain must be significant enough to interfere with social, emotional, occupational, and other functional areas of life. Other than somatoform syndromes mentioned above, DSM-4TR also mentions two other types of syndromes, which are undifferentiated somatoform disorder and somatoform disorder not otherwise specified. Undifferentiated somatoform disorder is characterized by one or more unexplained physical symptoms for at least 6 months which do not meet the criteria for somatization disorder. These symptoms again have unexplained etiology. Somatoform disorder not otherwise specified is a residual category for patients who have symptoms suggesting a somatoform disorder but do not meet the specific diagnostic criteria for other somatoform disorders. Syndromes of dissociative disorders. First one under the category of dissociative disorders is dissociative identity disorder, or we may call it DID. This disorder was formerly referred to as multiple personality disorder. Individuals who are diagnosed with DID seem to behave as though they have various personalities with different identities. These personalities are known as alters. The individual as having the personality before acquiring DID is known as the host. There can be a number of alters ranging from just 2 to more than 100. Alters produce mannerism and behaviors which are usually completely different from that of the host. They may speak different languages, adopt different nationalities, or may even act of a different age. The basic function of these alters is to protect the person from extremely painful memories of certain traumatic experiences. Therefore, the number of alters a person has usually depends on the severity, duration, and the nature of abuse. Each of the alters has reservoirs of certain memories which define its identity. In this sense, the alters are aware of the host and its experiences, but in very complex patterns, the host is not aware of the alters. In people with multiple alters, some of the alters may not be aware of the experience of the other alters. Whenever the individual encounters a stimulus that triggers a painful memory, an alter takes control of the individual's behavior and the switch remains till another event triggers another alteration. According to DSM-4TR, the diagnostic criteria for DID follows that the individual must show the behavior of having two discrete identities or personality states, each with its own relatively enduring pattern of perceiving, relating, and thinking about the environment and self, and one which the individual has no control over. Additionally, the person must be unable to recall necessary personal information, and this condition must not be on an account of any known medical condition in the patient or substance abuse. So next syndrome under dissociative disorders is depersonalization disorder. Depersonalization is defined as a sensation of unreality concerning oneself, part of oneself, or one's environment. This state of surreal detachment can occur in states of stress, fatigue, or altered consciousness from drug use. Individuals with depersonalization disorder often report feeling as though they have cut off from themselves and are watching themselves from the outside as observers. They feel as though they are in the dreamlike state, disconnected from reality. Derealization often accompanies depersonalization. In derealization, the individual feels the same kind of strangeness towards the world and feels as if the other people are also dead, robotic, or unreal. Individuals often experience déjà vu, the sense of having seen or been in the particular place before knowing that it is not really the case. Or déjà vu, the sense of feeling like one has never encountered the familiar place before. Depersonalization disorder differs from the other dissociative disorders in that the individual is aware that his or her perception of strangeness is invalid and incorrect. However, the individual continues to harbor such feelings and may also experience the fear of going crazy with such frightening perceptions. Depersonalization as a dissociative disorder has also been associated with childhood trauma, specifically emotional abuse. According to DSM-4TR, The individual must experience depersonalization such that reality testing still remains stable while causing clinically significant distress and dysfunction in areas of social, occupational, and other important functions of life. The feeling of depersonalization must also not occur coincidentally with another general medical condition, another dissociative disorder, or any other mental disorder, and drug use causing similar physiological effects. So, next syndrome under dissociative category is dissociative amnesia. Amnesia refers to the partial or total loss of memories of past experiences. It usually has a neurological and physiological cause, such as a hit on the skull due to some accident. However, when it occurs due to no known organic or neurological cause and seems to have psychological causes, it is identified as dissociative amnesia. Dissociative amnesia differs from organic amnesia in the nature and content of forgetting. There are 5 specific patterns of memory loss observed in dissociative amnesia. The most commonly seen is localized amnesia, wherein the memory is blanked out for a certain period of time in which the traumatic event took place. For instance, a survivor of a tsunami devastation might entirely forget the event as it took place, and few days after that, while the officials cleared corpses and other destruction, it is usually the memory of several hours to a couple of days that is blanked out. The next type of amnesia is selective amnesia. As the name suggests, is noted when individuals forget specific events that occurred in a given period of time. For instance, in the above example, the man may forget watching the corpse of his family being cleared away, but may remember the tsunami as it struck. The third and rare type is generalized amnesia, in which the person forgets his or her entire past life. Another very rare pattern is continuous amnesia, in which the person does not remember anything that happened after a certain event took place that triggered the amnesia up until the present. In systematized amnesia, the person forgets specific categories of information with the rest of the memory remaining intact. For instance, the person may forget a specific location even he has been there frequently. In general, it has been found that dissociative amnesia affects episodic memory with procedural and semantic memory intact. According to DSM-4TR, the defining characteristics of dissociative amnesia are that the individual experiences one or more episodes of forgetting personal information, that is, usually traumatic in nature. Further, this does not occur due to any other disorder or known medical condition, and the experience of symptoms causes a significant amount of distress and dysfunction in regular functioning. Next syndrome is dissociative fugue. Dissociative fugue is an extension of amnesia in that, in addition to forgetting most of the crucial past information, the individual also takes a sudden and unexpected trip and absconds from home. However, fugue patients are more purposeful than the usually confused amnesia patients. They also create a new identity for themselves, inventing a detailed past. This identity lasts till the fugue lasts. The length of the fugue does not have any fixed period. Some individuals pursue their fabricated identity for years also. The fugue ends once the individual feels psychologically safe and the person has no recollection of the invented identity and all the events that occur during the episode of fugue. Therefore, they display amnesia about the fugue, and the last thing they usually remember is that they left home before the fugue was triggered. According to DSM-4TR, dissociative fugue is identified if the individual has a sudden onset of fugue and travels unexpectedly away from home to unusual places. The individual displays inability to recall the personal identity and formulates a new identity of which he or she has no recollection once the fugue ends. Lastly, the disturbance should not occur due to another dissociative or mental disorder, general medical condition, or substance abuse, and the occurrence of such episodes should be significantly distressing for the individual's social, occupational, and psychological functioning. Dissociative disorder not otherwise specified. This is a residual category of patients who have symptoms suggesting a dissociative disorder but do not meet the specific diagnostic criteria for other dissociative disorders. Epidemiology of somatoform in dissociative disorders. First, we will discuss the prevalence. The estimated prevalence of somatization ranges from relatively uncommon to very common. It has been estimated that 20 to 84 of patients seen by primary care physicians suffer from idiopathic somatic complaints. The reported prevalence of conversion disorder fluctuates from rare to ubiquitous. Empirical investigation suggests that 5 to 14% of the general medical consultations are likely to be the case of conversion disorder. Hypochondriasis, it has been noted, occurs in 3 to 14% of patients seen in medical settings. Pain disorder is very common in general population, and some estimate its lifetime prevalence to be approximately 5 to 12%. The prevalence of dissociative disorders is a controversial topic and its diagnosis is still debated. Some estimate it to be less than 1%. For dissociative amnesia, approximately 6% of the general population has been diagnosed. Now we must know the etiology of somatoform in dissociative disorders. These disorders have no identifiable biological cause. The etiological factors for them are speculated to be psychological in nature. The basic assumption for dissociative disorders have been that it is a way of individuals to escape traumatic memories. For both disorders, the psychodynamic, behavioral, and sociocultural perspectives have been widely influential in explaining their whys and hows. Historically, the psychodynamic perspective dominated by Freud's theory has contributed the most to our understanding of these disorders. However, the treatment designed by the cognitive and behavioral perspectives for somatoform disorders and dissociative disorders have been most effective. Now you must understand the causal explanation through psychodynamic perspective. Freud was highly influenced by neurologist Charcot and Joseph Breuer's work in hysteria. Borrowing from their ideas and works, Freud conceptualized somatic symptoms as a result of repressed childhood memories, perhaps traumatic in nature. These memories are pushed deep into the unconscious where the person becomes unaware of them. These traumatic emotional experiences are then transformed into some physical symptoms and the person is relieved from this anxiety. Freud could induce his patients to talk uninhibitedly about their childhood by bringing the unconscious material to consciousness under a trance-like state called hypnosis. Although this theory satisfactorily explains conversion symptoms in patients with labile indifference, it still does not explain the remaining two-thirds of the patients who still experience anxiety about the symptoms. In this perspective, hypochondriasis, somatization disorder, and body dysmorphic disorder all are seen as defenses against anxiety produced by unacceptable wishes. He also claimed that occurrence of a dissociative disorder is an outlet for the anxiety produced by the interaction of the ego with the id and the superego. Some studies do support this belief of the psychodynamic view. For example, one study indicates that dissociative patients experience less internal anxiety due to the psychic elements than do alcoholic patients. Next causal explanation we have for these disorders is behavioral and socio-cultural perspective. Behavioral theorists believe that mental disorders are a result of faulty learning and conditioning patterns, while socio-cultural and behavioral theorists alike suggest that somatoform disorders are inappropriate adoptions of the sick role. The adoption of the sick role means that the patient showing somatic symptoms does so by thinking about the gains he or she will acquire because of being sick, which are called secondary gains. The person learns to adopt this role if he or she has had a personal experience with physical illness during childhood or recently observed someone with such symptoms, and in both cases, being sick has been rewarding. Respondent conditioning is another theory used to explain somatoform disorder. It explains that the autonomic nervous system, which controls the physiological function of breathing, heart rate, etc., is subjected to conditioning. So if anxiety is paired, for instance, with minor heartbeat irregularities, then the person learns to associate these insignificant heartbeat irregularities with the anxiety, and the anxiety that is triggered further triggers other physiological symptoms. This becomes the basis of hypochondriasis in people. Similarly, for dissociative disorders, the perspective suggests that individuals learn to dissociate as coping response that offers relief from distress. The social role provided by the particular dissociative disorder operates based on consequences. According to sociocultural theorists, individuals with DID feel as though they have safe and legitimate excuse to misbehave, perhaps even indulge in criminal activities. Some studies have supported the fact that DID is merely a convenient construction and conscious enactment. Further, it has been found that individuals who fantasize often score higher on the measures of dissociation. Now we have cognitive perspective to explain the causes. For dissociative disorders, cognitive theory suggests that there are basically disorders of memory. As noted previously, patients with dissociative disorders have their procedural and semantic memory intact. That is, they can carry out skills and remember general knowledge. It is the episodic memory, that is, memory of personal life events and autobiographical information, which is affected. Even the implicit memory of certain past information is partially impaired. Two theories of cognitive dissociation have been proposed: theory based on state-dependent memory and source monitoring deficit theory. The theory suggests that the patient of dissociative disorders experience retrieval failure. The former maintains that recalling an event is easier for the individual if they are in the same mood state that they were in when the event occurred. This is called state-dependent memory. And the theory therefore suggests that dissociative amnesia can be reversed if the specific mood state were to be triggered. For DID, it is also known as that the alters are indicated by different moods. Next explanation for these disorders we have is through biological perspective. Brain imaging studies indicate that there is hypometabolism and hypermetabolism of the non-dominant hemisphere, causing impaired communication between the hemispheres. Where pain disorder is concerned, neurotransmitters serotonin and endorphins are said to play a major role. It is the deficiency of these neurotransmitters and the general chemical abnormalities within the patient's body that predispose certain individuals to experience pain and develop pain disorders. Genetic relationships have also been found for somatization disorders. Adoption studies yielded similar findings. Where dissociative disorders are concerned, some neuroscientific evidence suggests that the dissociative symptoms may be the consequence of undiagnosed epileptic seizure. Epileptic patients report symptoms such as blackouts, fugue, depersonalization, etc., which are akin to symptoms experienced in dissociative disorders. Further, the limbic system, particularly the hippocampus, has been identified to play a role. The assumption is that if dissociative disorders are a result of chronic stress, the hippocampal structure would be altered such that it cannot gather memories and symptoms of the disorder begin to surface, resulting in amnesia or DID. In addition to hippocampus hypothesis, neuroscientific research also suggests that abnormality in serotonin level may be responsible for dissociative symptoms. For instance, patients suffering from depersonalization disorders report having migraines, the origins of which are in serotonin functioning. Lower levels of serotonin is implicated in depersonalization. Now we have certain treatment modalities available for these disorders. The first one out of all these is pharmacotherapy. Serotonin specific drugs such as SSRI, tricyclic antidepressants are the most effective pharmacological agents. However, their long-term effectiveness is yet to be established. Amphetamines may also be an effective drug if the dosage is monitored carefully. For dissociative disorders, the barbiturate sodium amytal or the benzodiazepine lorazepam can be administered to improve retrieval of memories. The use of SSRIs such as Prozac have been found to be useful for some patients to relieve depersonalization. Psychosocial therapies. The behavioral treatment for somatoform disorders function on the principle of reinforcement. It employs two-pronged approach. First, objective is to withdraw the positive reinforcement for the illness. The second element of the therapeutic approach is to build the patient's coping skills, a lack of which is presumed to encourage adoption of the sick role. These behavioral techniques may include social skill training, assertiveness therapy, in order to build their strength in coping with the challenging situations. The next technique we have is cognitive behavioral treatment. This is another form of therapy which seeks to change the perception and belief system of the patient. Apart from this, we adopt several other techniques which are systematic desensitization relaxation technique. For dissociative disorder, specifically the psychodynamic therapy has been most commonly used, wherein the specific techniques used are re-traumatization, re-experiencing and abreaction. Apart from that, assertiveness training, cognitive techniques, tactical integration therapy, etc. have been very effectively useful to treat these disorders. Now you must also know the summary of this chapter. Somatoform disorders are presence of bodily symptoms without any known physical or organic cause. The diagnostic criteria for disorder is given by DSM. The syndrome which have been identified under somatoform disorders are somatization disorder, conversion disorder, hypochondriasis, pain disorder, and body dysmorphic disorder. Dissociative disorders occur in individuals who display disintegration of consciousness, identity, and or memory, usually due to emotional trauma and abuse. DSM identifies 4 syndromes as dissociative disorders. These are dissociative identity disorder, dissociative amnesia, dissociative fugue, and depersonalization disorder. The psychodynamic perspective and the behavioral and sociocultural perspective have produced widely accepted explanation of somatoform and dissociative disorders. Dissociative disorders also find explanation of possible causal factors by cognitive theories. The treatment option for somatoform disorders are not very specific. Treatment may include the drug therapy approach and psychosocial therapeutic approaches. For dissociative disorders, the psychodynamic approach to therapy was proved most effective. Other therapies include behavioral and cognitive approaches to treat the dissociative symptoms.